Hello, it's Jim Manning again. I'm the author of Patriotism, Unhinged, selling very well, and I want to thank all the people that are buying it because that's what's keeping me on YouTube. I have something for you today that I got from the men who killed Kennedy. That series was a 9-part series. 9 hours on the History Channel. And the first part of it was 6 one-hour shows. And then after that, they did an additional 3 shows. And for a long time, they had pulled those last 3 shows off. And the reason was that they had just too many clues for people to follow up on. And so I don't know how they did it, but they got the History Company, the History Channel, to take them off. And Nigel Turner, who was the British producer of all the 9 shows, he was ostensibly maybe threatened with a suit by the Johnson family. And as part of the settlement, they had to take that off the air, and they had to also make an apology. There's nowhere that I know of that has as many specific things telling you about the assassination with specificity as much as the men who killed Kennedy. At any rate, for those who don't have the time to watch something that's, 9 hours, I will pick out certain little things. Once again, no minutia. I'll just give you the evidence. And if you want more, you can just go online and see it. We're going to give you now some information on the car. What happened to the car. You will see that they broke so many laws on what to do with evidence in just a car that any case would have ever been brought on anybody would have been thrown out of court for the way they conducted that investigation. Maybe I should say the way they decided not to investigate it. You be the judge. It's up to you. We'll talk on the other end.
Further corroboration of a shot fired from in front of Kennedy's car came from the late Dr. Evalia Glanges in her only filmed interview. She was no stranger to guns.
I've been handling a gun since I was a child. Couldn't even hold the gun. I had to put it on the fence in order to shoot it. Paul! On the morning of November the 22nd, 1963, I was a second-year medical student at Southwestern Medical University in Dallas, Texas. We ran around the side of the building to the emergency room exit, and the presidential limousine was there. Had been standing there for some time just watching the back of the emergency room when I realized that there was a bullet hole in the windshield. Talked to my friend next to me and said, "Look, there's a bullet hole in the windshield," and pointed it out to them. At the time, I did not know any of the details of the shooting. I was quite shocked when I looked up and saw the bullet hole, but it was very clear. It was a through and through bullet hole through the windshield of the car from the front to the back. I don't believe there's even any cracks associated with that bullet hole. It seemed like a high-velocity bullet that had penetrated from front to back in that glass pane. At which point, a security officer of some type raced forward and jumped in the limousine and drove it off, even as I was leaning against it, to an area back of us somewhere. And that was the last time I saw the limousine.
The Secret Service made certain no authority in Dallas had an opportunity to examine the bullet damage to Kennedy's car.
The Secret Service also usurped Dallas authority and removed the Kennedy limousine from Parkland Hospital and flew that limousine back to Washington, D.C.
For over a decade, researcher Doug Weldon, a professor of criminal justice and an attorney, has studied Kennedy's limousine and what happened to it in the hours after the assassination.
Just as the president's body in an autopsy could have given us many answers, a thorough study of that limousine at that time, without evidence being tampered with, would also have given us many important answers as to what really happened.
But on arrival in Washington, damage to the limousine was noted.
Charles Taylor Jr., the Secret Service agent who had accompanied Samuel Kinney in driving the vehicle to the White House garage from Andrews Air Force Base, noted in his report that of particular significance, just left to center of the windshield was a small hole from which it appeared that bullet fragments had been removed. Nick Prunspy, a United States Police Park officer, also had an opportunity to take a look at the vehicle while it was in the White House garage. He noted that there was a small hole in the windshield, and based upon his many years of experience as a police officer, he noted that that hole had been caused by a bullet.
Over the ensuing days, the car was scrutinized in the White House garage by a number of people. But one day was different.
If one examines the White House garage logs, it is very interesting that in the late evening of November 24th, 1963, and the entire day of November 25th, 1963, not one person is listed as having come in to the White House garage to have any contact with the limousine.
Rumors circulated at the time always denied that the presidential car was secretly flown from Washington to the Ford Motor Company in Dearborn, Michigan, for the removal of its damaged windshield.
It is very clear that the only mode of transportation that could have been used to transport the limousine from Washington, D.C. to the Dearborn plant would have been via airplane.
There are several airports in the Detroit area. It would have been a simple matter to transport the limousine undercover to its final destination, the Ford Motor Company's Rouge plant. The late George Whitaker Sr., seen here with his wife, was a lifetime employee with Ford and held a managerial position at the Rouge plant. He went to work on the morning of November 25th to be confronted by an amazing sight.
He was astonished when he went to the B building where a garage existed at that time, and he saw the Kennedy limousine that John F. Kennedy had been murdered in. The interior of the limousine had completely been stripped, and the windshield was not in the limousine. He went to the glass lab where he was in charge of laminating glass, and the glass lab door was locked. He knocked on the door, and it was open, and two of his subordinates were in there with the windshield that had been removed from the vehicle. They were under orders to take that windshield and use it as a template in making a new windshield. But what fascinated him, and which he discussed with his family and no one else until he spoke with me, was that he saw a hole in the windshield.
It was a good, clean bullet hole right straight through in the front. Right. This had a clean, round hole in the front and fragmentized in the front of that.
Mr. Whitaker had 30 years of experience working with glass and had seen many tests performed on glass, including tests performed with firearms. He described that hole as being in the same location that Charles Taylor Jr. of the Secret Service had described the hole in his report. And of course, without knowing that anybody had observed it before then, but he also was absolutely 100% convinced that that shot had to emanate from the front of the Kennedy limousine, thus indicating that a shot had been fired from the front, to his mind, to 100% certainty. I asked him what had happened to the original windshield. His answer to me was, "We scrapped it." I said, "You destroyed it?" And he says, "That's right. Our orders were to scrap that windshield."
After George Whitaker died in 2001, this statement was found amongst his possessions. reaffirming for future generations exactly what he had told Doug Weldon 8 years previously.
This document was discovered, and for me, it gave the final stamp of approval that what he told me on that August day in 1993 was in fact the truth of what really happened.
What do you think of that? Very interesting. It's, once again, almost unbelievable that they would wreck that car within 24 to 48 hours completely so that nothing could be double-checked and triple-checked. Shots where they were made, where they hit, and just absolutely incredible that they had to crush up the windshield that had a bullet hole through it. I mean, doesn't make any sense at all. So once again, it's a clue as to what people were thinking in the government about covering things up. The gentleman in charge of the Rouge operation for the glass was George Whitaker Sr. And George Whitaker knew that what he had seen was very, very important. And nobody picked up on it, and nobody did anything to pursue it. And so what he did was he wrote down in that letter that you saw, complete statement. I think it was like, what was 2 pages, page and a half. Anyway, and he signed it. And he left that for posterity, that hoping, like me, that sometime in the future, historians with guts would look over all of these things and tell the Congress, I think we need to take another look at this thing.
Mr. Whitaker wrote, "This is November 22nd, 1993, 30 years after the assassination of John F. Kennedy. And as I will be 80 years old in about 2 months, I think it's time I put this bit of history in writing or on tape. When I'm gone, the record will still be here. This is what I know about this part of the records. I know they are not complete. JFK was shot and killed on November 22nd, 1963. This was a Friday afternoon. On Monday morning, November 25th, the Lincoln car was in the Rouge plant of the Ford Motor Company. When it arrived there, I do not know. At about 9 o'clock, I was called to report to the glass laboratory, which I did. When I arrived at the lab, the door was locked. I was let in. There were 2 glass engineers there. They had a car windshield that had a bullet hole in it. The hole was about 4 or 6 inches to the right of the rearview mirror. This impact had come from the front of the windshield. If you spent 40 years in the glass business, you know which way the impact was from. Our orders were to make a windshield using the window shield they had as a pattern and take it to the B building garage and install it in the car. We were told to tell anyone that asked that we were making a prototype for a new car. This is what we did. We had 2 pieces cut to shape and had to run them through the bending layer. Then they were washed and they were run through the White House, where the vinyl sheet was placed between the glass. Then the windshield was placed, and then the 2 were put in the autoclave for lamination. Then the windshield was taken out and washed and inspected. We had a windshield. So we took it to the B building and installed it in the car. The car was completely stripped inside, down to the metal. So we covered up the car and we got out of there. So I've known all these years that there was more than one gun used. When we were all done, I called my boss and asked him if he knew what was being done in the lab. He said, "I don't know and don't want to know, so don't say anything to me about it. Just forget this all happened." The car was the blue Lincoln that JFK was shot in. Signed, George C. Whitaker, Sr.
It's a little piece of evidence. It's maybe a clue to keep in mind as you start putting this thing together in your mind. Remember, you're the jury. You're the jury. I'm just the person making the evidence available to you. Thank you.